Hello, this is Jacob Jenkins reporting a story about a boy who has dreams of wrestling. Here we go. Once there was a boy named Ralphie Thompson who loved wrestling. But he was a big, he was a fat white boy, but he's very strong and very healthy. He eats he eats burgers, but he also eats right and everything. So, here we go. Once there was a boy named Ralphie Thompson who has dreams of wrestling. Not the kind of wrestling you see on WWE because it's all fake. But also his mother just didn't support him though. When he was like 5 years old, his mother and father got a divorce. At the age of 10, his mother married again. His mother had married a man again. Another man that's like so not nice. And neither is his daughters. One's 13, one's 7. And they didn't, and around the time Ralphie was living there, they just didn't treat him right. They didn't let him, they made him do all the work. They made him do all the work and everything. They made him do all the work, all the chores, all the yard work and everything. Ralphie did not get no chance to relax. It kept going on and on and on and on and on until finally Ralphie had enough. And just argued back to his mother and stepfather and his stepsisters too, refusing to do any of their chores or any of these extra chores. Just kept refusing. Didn't want to do it anymore. Or it kept fine. 1 year later, Ralphie turned 11 and he decided to go out for football, work on his spears and everything. Work on his spears and grabbing and everything. In progress of becoming a wrestler one day. All through those school years, Ralphie led his team. Ralphie led his team to every school championship and won. On his age of 15 in high school, he was traded to varsity. He played varsity right away, and he led the varsity team to the championships. And so Ralphie kept doing football until finally he had to graduate at the age of 17. But his mother, stepfather, and stepsister didn't go to his graduation or celebrate his graduation. So Ralphie always had to throw his own parties with his friends. Most of Ralphie's friends are black. Most of Ralphie's friends are black. And there was a black girl named Keisha who's also in love with him. Who's also in in love with him. In love with him. And so, huh? And so Ralphie decided. So after the graduation, Ralphie was looking for a wrestling company that was looking for a wrestling company. Unknown to Ralphie, his stepfather owns a wrestling company, but Ralphie just doesn't want to take that over because he hates his stepfather, you know. And so Ralphie just kept looking for, at the age of 18, Ralphie just kept looking for a job. Just kept looking for a job in wrestling. He kept on looking until finally he got to a wrestling company. He found a wrestling company that was run by a Mexican guy. That was run by a Mexican guy named Diego. I named Diego. Go. So Ralphie went to apply there, and Diego explained this. It is like the wrestling you see on WWE, but they're not acting. They're more like it's like the wrestling you see on WWE with suplexes and elbow drops and everything, but they're not acting. This wrestling company is relied on momentum and physical strength alone. And they fight and wrestle until another person stays down. It was known as real world wrestling. So Ralphie went and applied there, and worked out every day. Until finally he was now wrestling in that place. Finally, he was wrestling in that place. His mother didn't want him doing that, but Ralphie just ignored his mother. And didn't want to listen. And so Ralphie, he lives in Texas, but he went to San Diego. Because that's what the wrestling company was. Because that's where the wrestling company was. And so, and with the money he earned from that wrestling company, and he got himself an apartment and moved out of his mother's house. So fine. After he got settled in his new apartment, and his apartment. By the way, he's 18 now. After he got settled in his new apartment, guess who came to visit? His real father. And he was married to another woman who has a daughter 8 years old, who has a daughter like 16 years old, and she was very friendly. That that stepmother of Ralphie's treated Ralphie like family. Fed him, fed, fed him, came to check on him, and his and the steps and the stepsister and the sister thought that Ralphie was really funny. She always kept making funny faces at her, kept tickling her, and telling her jokes. She kept making her laugh so hard. She kept making her laugh until she like peed on herself. Oh, oh. Ralphie was making that girl, that was just making that girl smile, slap her knee, bend over, making her slap her knee, split her sides, and making her belly button squeeze by laughing. And also, till fine, he's in everything. Ralph, for the first time in ever, Ralphie felt like he was in a loving family. Till finally, one day, Diego called him. I need you to come to work, Ralphie, he said. Ralphie said okay. He rushed right up to work. And he saw, and as Ralphie was getting ready for a match, he saw another big guy named Charles walking right past him. Past his door. He was surprised by that big guy. And Diego was surprised to see him. Diego was like, no, it can't be. As Ralphie tried to talk to Diego was like still as a statue in fear. So Ralphie just shrugged and went out there, wrestled, and won his match. After the match, Diego was telling him to stay away from that man. And he explained that man was a champion and has been for a very long time. But I've told him to come and defend his championship, but he's refused. But now I got word that he wants to battle you, Ralphie. And so Ralphie felt really pumped up and said, I'll fight him. Then I'll teach him how a real champion fights. Diego smiled and gets a wincing nod at him. Kick his butt, Ralphie. As Ralphie was leaving, he saw Charles. He saw Charles getting into his limo. As he looked, he felt some sort of family resemblance. He went back to his apartment, got on Ancestry.com, come to find out that big guy Charles was his brother. He went to go talk to his father, and his father told the story about Charles. The father was mean to Charles and never gave him anything. Made him do all the work and everything all around the house and everything. Charles, Ralphie's dad treated Charles the way Ralphie's mother treated him. And so, after a month of intense training, the match was 2 weeks away. Ralphie asked his family, "Will you be?" Ralphie asked him. Ralphie asked his father and his father and the rest of his father, "Will you and the family be there?" They said yes. And so finally the big day came and Ralphie was ready. As Ralphie goes out there he feels a little nervous but determined. So Ralphie goes out there and faces his brother. But his brother seemed to be a lot stronger than him. Ralphie was getting thrown around, slammed down, and everything. Slammed and everything. And then everything. Ralphie was innocent. Charles put Ralphie in a submission move. Ralphie was about to tap out. But then Ralphie felt something different. He felt super strong. He felt super strong and just broke out of that submission hold. And he started throwing his brother around. Suplex, body slam, power drivers, and everything. And until finally, he was getting ready for the big move. He hits him with a spear. Here, gets a 1-2, and Charles was not getting up, so Ralphie gets a 1-2-3 on him, and Ralphie was crowned the new champion. Ralphie was proud of himself and everything. Ralphie celebrated with his father and sister and stepmom. They were excited they were proud of him for the hard work he did. All the way up from 18 to 23, Ralphie was undefeated, defending his championship every day on the show every day, until all of a sudden he heard someone knocking at the door. It was his stepsister, Simona. She had something to tell Ralphie. It was awfully bad news. His stepfather died of an asthma attack. The doctors tried to revive him, but there was just nothing they could do. After all that, Simona apologized for everything she did to him, and the other stepsister, Lydia, sends her apologies too, and so did the mother. So after leaving, So before leaving, Ralphie gave up the championship and went to take over his father's fighting company. And went to take over his father's wrestling company. But in the end, it was called Wrestling Kingdom. And Ralphie did a better job running it than his stepfather. Ralphie is now really close to his stepsisters and is now really close to all his family members, stepsisters and mother. And he married that black girl who was in love with him. They're now married with 1 daughter and 5 boys. And Kingdom Wrestling was now the highest paid wrestling company in the world. And that, my friends, is the story of the Muscle Kid. The end. Hit subscribe to hear more stories like this. Yes. I hope you learned something from it. This is Big Jake signing off. Peace out.